Okay, Ramana, let's get going.
Om Shuklam Bharadharam Sasivarnam Chaturvedam Prasannavatanam Chayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Sadasiva Samarambham Sankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam मनोबुद्ध्यहंकार चित्तानि नाहं न च श्रोत्र जिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्यो न भूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायुर्न वा सप्तधातुर्न वा पञ्चकोश न वा पाणिपादौ न चोपस्थपायु चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहौ मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभाव न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्ष चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञा अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्मा न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्य चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपो विभुत्वाच्य सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां न चासङ्गतं नैव मुक्तिर्न मेया चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपा शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् गुरुभ्यो नमः।
Anna, you muted.
You are muted, Appa.
So in the last two classes, we discussed the Tattvamasi Prakarana. In the two classes before, we discussed the Upanishad taught by Uddalaka to his son Shvetaketu. So Uddalaka went through step by step. He asked the son, did you learn that by knowing why which everything is known? And that puzzled his son. And the son, no, I didn't learn that. The teacher did not probably know it. I see in our tradition, the teacher should not be blamed like that. Here, the student, that is Shvetaketu, he may have thought he had enough of school for the last 12, 14 years, and therefore he was not willing to go back to school if the father might send him back there. So he says the teacher may not have known it. So you teach me. That's how he puts it. Anyway, the Uddalaka teaches him step by step. And for every time there is a doubt, he gives an example and explains that you are that Parabrahma, the indivisible, the single entity, that indestructible, indivisible, you are that. So then finally, Shvetaketu understood it, and the student and the teacher, they retired. Now, we understood, we also discussed some of the commentaries by Shankaracharya on these Upanishad mantras. Now, apart from this, Shankaracharya is, that is Shastra. What is it described in the Upanishad is the Shastra. And then he gives a commentary, a logical commentary to it. How is it that this Paramatma, which is which has the power of creation and which is infinite, and then the Jivatma, which is suffering from Ajnana and which is limited, he thinks he is limited to the body. How can these two be the same? How can they can be identical? This is what he took up to answer, and he went through in a very methodical way. This Tattvamasi Shvetaketu has to be understood by analyzing the sentences for their lakshana. Lakshana means they have a message. Now in this case, the direct message is not possible. Direct message has to be taken as the answer, as the message meaning of the word statement. In generally in most cases, but in some cases they are not possible. The sentence doesn't make any sense to say that the direct meaning fails, and then you go to the indirect meaning. And if you come to the indirect meaning, Shankaracharya describes the three different characteristics of the indirect meaning that we can draw. One is what is called Jahat Lakshana, other one is called the Ajahat Lakshana, and the third one is Jahat Ajahat Lakshana. It's called Bhaga Lakshana, also another name. So in the Jahat Lakshana, you may have to say negate the entire sentence, throw away the whole sentence and make a meaning out of that. Like we gave the example of Gangayam Goshaha, the hamlet or a village in Ganga. Now, there cannot be a village in Ganga, so it has to be interpreted as you throw the meaning of the direct meaning and the indirect meaning, everything like that, and you say that the indirect meaning for this should be that it is a village close to the Ganga river or on the banks of the Ganga river. That's the Jahat Lakshana. Jahat Lakshana means you cannot drop. In the Jahat Lakshana, I gave this other example. We hung out. Our children say we hung out. There we have to throw the whole sentence and make a meaning out of that. In the Ajahat Lakshana, Ajahat means you cannot throw away. Jahat is to cut. Ajahat is you cannot cut it. You cannot discard the whole sentence. You have to take a part of the sentence and retain a part of the sentence, and you can discard a part of the sentence. So we gave this example that the mother tells the child to watch for the ghee or the yogurt that no cow eats it or something like that. So then we gave cow means here everything we have to take associated with all other similar animals, and so that we took as the ajahat lakshana. Now in here we cannot throw away, we cannot keep the infiniteness of the Paramatma and the limitedness of the Jivatma. So that is, Ajahat is not possible there. You can also, like Jahat is not possible. Jahat is to throw away the consciousness also comes into picture, because there is consciousness involved, and therefore you cannot throw away the consciousness. Therefore, Ajahat is not possible. I mean, Jahat is not possible. Ajahat is not possible because you cannot really compare an infinite entity with powers of creation, etc., and with a finite entity which has limited power. So this cannot be combined, and therefore he introduces this Jahat Ajahat Lakshana, Bhaga Lakshana. You retain a part of it and you discard a part of it and make the meaning out of the sentence. And Soyam Devadattaha, we gave that example somewhere in your primary school days or high middle school days. You had seen this person, your friend, and then you meet him somewhere else. Suddenly you recognize Soyam Devadattaha. This is the same Devadatta that I had seen in my school. So the Devadatta at that time was a young person with good hair and well dressed and everything. And the Devadatta now is bald headed, and he has beard, and he has gone weak and all those things. But still, you discard those outward differences. Principally, he is the same Devadatta, the same person. So that is Bhaga Lakshana. So with this, he gave the proof that logically you can arrive at this thing, Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, by looking at the characteristics of the sentences itself, the Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, that sentence. And then he comes to prove that the Jahat Ajahat Lakshana, we will have to use Bhaga Lakshana and then arrive at the meaning of that proof. Now, what does it mean by saying I discard the body? See, in order to come to the Bhaga Lakshana, I have to discard the body of the Jivatma, discard the finite form of the Paramatma. So now let us come to the discarding the body of the Paramatma. What is the body? What is the body we are looking at? And that in the next 3-4 verses, the author here describes 3 kinds of bodies: the Sthula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, and the Karana Sharira. So these are the 3 Shariras that the body is associated with. And these 3 bodies are making him limited, and therefore throw off this 3 bodies. And that is the message study we are going to do today. Prasadi panchīkrita bhuta sambhavam bhogalayam dukkha sukhadi karmanam shariramādyantavadādi karmajam māyāmayam stūlamupādhimatmanā. Prasadi panchīkrita bhuta sambhavam.
Prasadi panchīkrita bhuta sambhavam रसादि पंचीकृत भूत संभवम्
भोगालयं दुःख सुखादि कर्मणाम्
भोगालयं दुःख सुखादि कर्मणाम् भोगालयं दुःख सुखादि कर्मणाम्
शरीरमाद्यन्तवदादि कर्मजम्
शरीरमाद्यन्तवदादिकर्मजम् शरीरमाद्यन्तवदादिकर्मजम्
मायामयं स्थूलमुपाधिमात्मनः
मायामयं स्थूलमुपाधिमात्मनः मायामयं स्थूलमुपाधिमात्मनः
This stula sharira or the gross body, physical. Here the author says Mayamayam Sthulam Upadhi Matmanaha. This gross body, he calls it as an upadhi for the Atma. We will get to understand the upadhi a little down the road. But at this point, you just say, understand it as it is an adjunct, it's a limiting adjunct. The Atma is infinite, but thinking that I am the Atma, I am limiting the, I am the body is the Atma, I am limiting the Atma to the body. So that is what limits is what is called the Upadhi or adjunct. So this gross body is made of what? Rasadi Panchikrita Bhuta Sambhavam. Rasadi means the 5 elements. Water is shown as one of the rasa adi. So rasadi panchikrita. These we have these five elements: akasha, vayu, tejas, apa, and prithvi. These are subtle elements coming out of the creation process. Now these subtle elements cannot make a body, and therefore they go through a grossifying process, which is called the panchikarana. Panchikrita bhuta sambhavam. So this gross body is made of the 5 grossified elements. Panchikrita, you can use another word, quintified. Quintified is panchikarana. So the gross body is made of the 5 grossified or quintified 5 elements. What are they? Grossified earth, grossified water, grossified fire, grossified air, and grossified space. So this body, which is a composite of these 5 grossified elements, this is Bhogalaya. It is the medium of enjoyment of the fruits of action. I have done some karmas and I had to enjoy it. I need a medium for enjoy the fruits of action. I need a medium to enjoy it. And that medium is called Bhogalaya. Bhoga means to experience. Alaya, the abode of experience. Therefore, this gross body is the Bhogalaya. Dukkha Sukhadi Karmanam, to enjoy the fruits of action of happiness and misery. So the gross body or the physical body made of the 5 grossified elements, Panchikrita Bhutas, and that is the abode of the experience for the happiness and misery coming out of the karmanam, out of the karmas that we have done. The karma phala we have to enjoy, and for that karma phala enjoyment, we are looking at this body. So the gross body having a beginning and an end is born of karma and is a play of maya. He says, Shairam Adyantavat Adi Karmajam. Adyantavat, it has a beginning, it has an end. We have a date of birth and we have a date of death. So the Sharira, when I say we, the body has a date of birth, and the Sharira, the body has a date of death. So in between, we call it the Sharira. And having a beginning and an end. And where is this coming from? It is coming from our own karma. Our past karma has generated certain karma phala, and that karma phala to enjoy, I have gotten this body. And Maya Mayam, this is a play of Maya. So if I am not in the domain of Maya, I am in the domain of Purusha, I am not going to be associated with any dukkha or sukha, and I am in bliss all the time. But because I have chosen to be impacted by the play of Maya, I get this body, and in the body I enjoy the sukha dukkha. Now, this is the gross adjunct or the gross body. The Jivatma is identified with two additional adjuncts called a subtle body and a causal body. The subtle body, you have heard me talk quite often. The causal body is something new that you may not have heard. Bhagavad Gita does not talk about causal body. So we will try to understand a little more detail here what it is. Hold on. So the true nature of the entity Atma, we have to understand with respect to the three bodies. When I associate the Atma with the three bodies, then I am called a Jivatma. For the time being, have that definition. What is a Jivatma? A Jivatma is one who is associated with a gross body, a subtle body, and a Karana Sharira or a causal body. So the three bodies, the Sthula Sharira we just discussed now, is generated by the Prarabdha Karma of the Jiva and will survive for so long as the Prarabdha Karma needs to be experienced. At the beginning of this life, a certain amount of my past karmas have been quantified to be experienced in this life. Until I experience those karmas, I will be in this physical body. The moment it is exhausted, it is my return ticket time that is scheduled already, and I will have to leave this body and go. That is this Sthula Sharira, status of the Sthula Sharira. Now, what is it that goes out of the body? That is the Sukshma Sharira, or what is called the subtle body. Now, this subtle body consists of 17 constituents. Antakarana. Antakarana means you look manas, intellect, the chitta, ahankara, all these come in that. Then the sense organs, 5 sense organs for the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the touch, the skin. And then the 5 motor organs for speech, hands, feet, and the reproductive and the excreting organs. Prana, there are 5 pranas. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, keeping the body functioning, distributing air and blood and everything in the body, so that every aspect of this Sthula Sharira is nourished. So that is the prana, and the 5 tanmatras, 5 subtle elements, not this Sthula, the Panchikrita elements, but subtle elements, that is what is called the tanmatra. Tanmatra means Akasha has the characteristic or the quality of sound. The air has the quality of touch, like that. These have only one element, one characteristic, that is what is called a tanmatra. Now, what is this Karana Sharira? We have to understand this Karana Sharira is a causal body in English, described as. The Karana Sharira or causal body really is not a body. There is no matter in it. That is what when I say it's not really a body. See, the Sthula Sharira, we understand it has matter. We see that through our sense organs. The Sukshma Sharira is a very, very subtle matter. We can't see through our sense organs, but we can infer the presence of the Sukshma Sharira through the functioning of the body. So that is also made of matter only. So the Sukshma Sharira is made of the subtle elements, and the Sthula Sharira is made of Panchikrita elements, and the Karana Sharira, by that definition, is not a body. It has no body. The Ajnana or ignorance, not knowing the self, is called Karana Sharira. I am the Atma, but I don't know I am the Atma. I always say I am the body. This is Ajnana, this is ignorance. And this ignorance is called Karana Sharira because it is the ignorance which causes duality. Knowing that I am the body I see another body, so I see the duality. And if that other body is something I like, I have an attachment towards that. If that other body, I don't like it, I want to keep it away. So in order to get it or keep it away, I engage in karma. And when I engage in karma, then inevitably I have to experience the karma phala. And therefore, the ignorance or the ajnana is considered the cause of getting another body, the karana of getting another body, and therefore it is called karana sharira. So at the end of the life, when the time comes that I am leaving this body, who is leaving this body? The gross body drops here. It has no place to go. So from the gross body, something leaves the body. And what leaves the body is this subtle body or the Sukshma Sharira. The Sukshma Sharira along with the causal body does not, as I said, is not a body of matter, but this ignorance is given that name causal body. So at the time of death, my subtle body and causal body will leave this gross body. And that subtle body and causal body is also called Jivatma. While the subtle body and causal body are in this physical body, then also it is called Jivatma. And when the subtle body and the causal body has left the physical body, then also it is referred to as Jivatma. I will give an example. See, you are traveling in a train. Let us say the train is very long. For my train, you are located in the first compartment. Now you are, you are sitting there and you got bored. You say you want to take a walk in the train. You go until the last compartment of the train. You walk along. As you walk along the various compartments, you are in the train. You are not left the train. You are still a passenger. Like when you are seated in your seat in the first compartment, you are still a passenger as you would travel along the train to the last compartment. So like that, this subtle body and causal body in the physical body is also called Jivatma. The subtle body and the causal body outside of the physical body is also called Jivatma. It's only a temporary, it's a tentative name given. Honestly speaking, what leaves the body is the subtle body and the causal body, but it causes a lot of confusion to a lot of people. And therefore, this the Jivatma leaves the gross body is accepted with the condition or the qualifier that since the Atma pervades everywhere, the support of the Atma is there to the subtle body and the causal body, while the subtle body and the causal body is in the body or outside the body. Just like, as I said, the example of the train, walking along the train. So you are a passenger, whether you are walking through the various compartments or you are seated in your seat. So like that, this subtle body and the causal body gets the name of Jivatma even in the body or outside the body. Now, when the Jivatma discards the gross body, these two bodies, subtle body and the causal body, are associated with him. It is associated with him for a long time. As these two bodies are associated with the Jivatma, rebirth is inevitable. So now this Jivatma has left this body. It is traveling somewhere in the space, and as it is traveling, it is supported by the Atma, which pervades everywhere, and ultimately it has to find a place to lodge itself in another body, and therefore rebirth is inevitable, because this Jivatma still has unfinished karma. It has karma that still need to be experienced, and therefore that rebirth is inevitable. And how is the rebirth facilitated? With the subtle and the causal bodies entering another body. And in that body, he will wear off some more karma in his baggage. and like that it goes on, life after life after life. Now, what happens when a person realizes self-knowledge, when he knows he is the Atma, you are in the body in this current life, and you become a Jivan Mukta. You realize that you are not the body, you are the Atma. So what happens is the gross body continues until dictated by the Prarabdha Karma. You still remain in the body, even as a realized body, a realized person, you still remain in the body. Example in point, Ramana Maharshi, we all know, got realized barely in his life, or 14, 15 years, and he continued for another 50 years or 60 years like that, because the Prarabdha Karma, see, whether I'm going to get Jivan Mukti in this life or not is not decided at the time of taking the birth in this life. And therefore, if the birth itself is for a duration of a certain time, and that to work out the Prarabdha Karma, it's like they say that the arrow released has to see its destination. Like that, once the body has been gotten, it has to see through the Prarabdha Karma completed. As the Prarabdha Karma matures, finally he drops his gross body, and the subtle body coming out disintegrates into 17 constituent aspects. He said what 17 constituent aspects of the subtle body is. See, in an Ajnani, it is the guna, sattva, rajas, tamas guna that binds the the 17 constituents together. But in this case, he has become a gunatita. He has transcended gunas, and having transcended gunas, in this case, the guna have no power to hold him together, and all the 17 components, they disintegrate and merge with the respective original entities, like the Sukshma Sharira is made of the 17, the 5 elements, 5 karmendriyas, 5 jnanendriyas, like that. They all merge in their original entity. So that is, and then the 17 constant merge with the respective source principles. The Jivatma merges the Paramatma. Jivatma's source is Paramatma. The Paramatma appearing to be thinking he is the body is the Jivatma. And when his knowledge of his body is destroyed, the Jivatma has no more existence. The Jivatma merges with the Paramatma. So this gross body, as he said, Rasad Panchikrita Bhuta Sambhavam, the 5 grossified 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space. Now these 5 elements are of 2 kinds. Once we said the Sukshma Bhutas and the Stula Bhutas are the subtle bodies and the gross bodies. Each of the 5 subtle elements has one distinct characteristic. Earth has the characteristic of smell, water has the characteristic of taste, fire has the characteristic of form, air has the characteristic of touch, and space has the characteristic of sound in a subtle element, in these 5 subtle elements. But when these 5 elements combine to become the gross element, then each of the 5 gross elements have all the 5 characteristics of the subtle elements. So the 5 characteristics are together in one entity called the gross body. The gross air has all the characteristics of the 5 subtle elements. The gross water has all the 5 characteristics of the 5 elements, but in differing amounts. You will understand that as we go further. So these 5 subtle elements combine in a definite proportion to form 5 grossified elements: grossified earth, grossified water, grossified fire, grossified air, and grossified space. How are they formed? There is a formula for that. We will see that through an example here. Now, this is a example. Let us say there is the subtle space, subtle air, subtle fire, subtle water, subtle earth. Now, you divide this subtle space into 5 entities, 5 components, or 5 parts, I should say. Make it into 5 parts. One part is half of this subtle space, and the other 4 are 1/8 of this subtle space. Therefore, the half plus 4 1/8 make it full subtle space. Similarly, you divide the subtle air, subtle fire, subtle water, subtle earth, so that half is one component and 1/8 are additional 4 components. Now, when you bring them together, Panchikarana at the grossification, what happens is you replace these 1/8 portions of the subtle space, you retain the half subtle space, and then you borrow from the subtle air, subtle fire, subtle water, subtle earth for 1/8 portions. So now you have a new material with half subtle space and 1/8 of the subtle air, subtle fire, subtle water, and subtle earth, and similarly like that for the other elements. Now you got these many the half subtle space and the other 1/8 the subtle other components. You put it in a furnace and you burn it, then you get gross space. Similarly, you get gross air, gross element, gross water, gross earth. I'll give an example. This will probably help you understand this, cement this meaning of this exactly correctly. Now, today we know that there is a craze for multi-grain bread or multi-grain chapatis and things like that. So I want to try in the, let us say I have the wheat flour, I have the rice flour, I have the millet flour, I have the oats flour, and you can throw another one, chana flour. I have 5 cups, 1 cup of each these 5 attas. Now I want to see which combination gives me the best chapatis. So I do this. The atta, the whole wheat flour, I make it into 5 components. One is a 5 divisions. One is half, the other is 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. Like that, I do all of them, and then I mix the such that there is half of each entity, and 1/8, 1/8, 1/8 of the different entities. So this would be half wheat flour and 1/8, 1/8, 1/8 of the other flours, and then you mix them together. This one you mix it, this one you mix it. This 5. So you got 5 different components of attas, going from half of wheat flour, half of rice flour, etc. And then you make chapatis out of them. That becomes the chapati becomes the gross 5 elements or the 5 attas like that. So this grossification or panchikarana is what can sustain the physical body. The physical body cannot be formed out of certain elements. The physical body can only be a product of a gross element, prasadi panchikrita bhuta sambhavam. So the gross body is made of prasadi panchikrita bhuta sambhavam. All these grossified elements, called the gross elements, have the characteristic of all 5 subtle elements. Now, if you make a chapati out of the grossified wheat flour, in that you have the taste of wheat flour, you have the taste of rice flour and the millet and oat and the chana, all that taste are there. So like that, all these grossified elements called the gross elements are the characteristics of all 5 subtle elements: space, water, air, etc. So like gross earth has the characteristic of smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. See, subtle earth has only the characteristic of smell, but whereas the gross earth has the characteristic of all the 5. You can touch the earth, Prithvi. You can hit a ball and you can get a sound out of that, like that. So these 5 have all the characteristics, the 5 elements. So this process is called Panchakarana. It is called quintuplication, quintification. These are the various names used in English. Since the 5 subtle elements are grossified to form each of the 5 grossified elements, these grossified elements are called Panchikrita Bhuta. Panchikarana, forming Panchikarana is Panchikrita. So Panchikrita Bhuta, the physical body is a Panchikrita Bhuta. That is, it is made of the grossified elements. So every object in this world, including the human and animal bodies, is made of these 5 grossified elements, though in different proportions. So the rock, the Himalayan mountains, the earth, everything, human bodies, animal bodies, sea creatures, every one of these bodies are made out of these 5 grossified elements called the grossified earth, grossified water, etc. So continuing, the gross body is formed by all the 5 gross elements, and then the gross body is the medium for the experience of pain and pleasure. Now, we said earlier that the subtle elements cannot experience the pain and pleasure. It is only the gross body that can experience the pain and pleasure. This is the this is what you have asked for. By doing a certain karma, we have asked for experiencing some happy situation or some negative situation. So this gross body is described as the gross adjunct of the Atma. So this gross adjunct of the Atma is now we call the Jivatma, and is perceptible to the sense organs. See, the sense organs cannot perceive subtle elements, but the sense organs can perceive these gross elements are the sukshma, this is stula sharira. So the stula sharira can perceive the sense organs, whereas the sukshma sharira cannot perceive the sense organs. The sukshma sharira is made of the 5 sense organs, and therefore it cannot sense itself. So this gross body is called the Bhogalayam. It's the place, it's the abode of experiencing the fruits of karma. Dukkha and Sukha is the locus of experience of pleasure and pain resulting from the fruits of karma. So it is called Bhogalaya, and this has Adyantavantaha. It has a beginning, it has an end, it has a birth date, it has a death date, and therefore this is Adyantavantaha. See, when we celebrate a birthday, we are celebrating the birthday of the body. I say today I'm 40 years old means the body was formed 40 years, but I was there even before that. Even before 40 years, there was this body, and the subtle body was there, but it came to manifestation through this body. So this, we do this, I'll come to that a little later. All right. So the source of this gross body is karmajam. It is born out of karma and associated with the fruits of karma. So this is described as the effect of Maya, the play of Maya, Mayamayam, play of Maya. Upadhi Matmana. This is an Upadhi or the limiting adjunct to the Atma. What happened? Atma is limitless, it is infinite. And by thinking Atma to be the body has a limitation. It has a finite size, and therefore I'm calling the Atma is limited. That is what makes it Upadhi, and it limits the scope of the Atma, thinking that it is. When I said it limits, not in actuality, there is an appearance of limiting the scope of the Atma by thinking the body is the Atma. Now, I said earlier that there is Jivatma has 3 bodies. One is this, we discussed the gross bodies now in detail. There is a subtle body and a causal body, which is called a subtle adjunct or a causal adjunct. or a Sukshma Upadhi and a Karana Upadhi. So the process of liberation is therefore described as the elimination or negation of these adjuncts. The technical term for this negation is called apavada, and the thinking that I am this body, this mind, that is called adhyaropa. I am projecting the body and the mind on the Atma, that is called adhyaropa. When I negate that, then it becomes an apavada. Now, the invocation stotra that we sing, Nirvana Shakta, is all this apavada. Mano buddhyankara chitta ninaham. I am not the manas, I am not the buddhi. So they, by negating the upadhis of the Atma, I am saying the Shivoham, Shivoham. The first three lines are the negation of the upadhis, and the fourth one says Shivoham, Shivoham. By negating them, I have become Shiva, the infinite. So the Vedanta Shastra gives an example of this upadhi, and it is described through the this crystal with a flower in nearby it. That we will see through an example here. You have a crystal, and this crystal is colorless. It is pure crystal. There is absolutely no color. Now what happens is, if you bring a red flower in front of the very close to the crystal, now the crystal appears to be red. So the this becomes, then the flower becomes the upadhi for limiting the colorlessness of the crystal to a single color. So this entity is called upadhi, and if you compare this, this is the Atma, the crystal is the Atma, the flower is the any one of the bodies, gross body, subtle body, you can take any one of them. Let us work with gross body. So the flower is the gross body, and the gross body is limiting the Atma to be finite. Like this flower is limiting the nature of the crystal from being like colorlessness to a colorful glass. So an upadhi or limiting adjunct, what does it do? Appears to change the characteristics of another body, crystal. It doesn't actually make the crystal red. That we should clearly understand. When the flower is taken away, then there is no more limitation on the crystal itself, and the only when you bring it close by the proximity of the second object, the first object appears to go through a change. Like that, the Atma, by the closeness of the physical body and the Sukshma Sharira, appears to contract the limitations of the physical body and the Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, but it really does not. When it is appearing to be captured by or limited by the physical body and the Sukshma Sharira, it is called a Jivatma. That Jivatma is a state. The Paramatma is the nature, but when you bring this Upadhi close to the Paramatma appears to have a limitation of whatever the nature of the physical body or the Sukshma Sharira. So when we say Tattvamasi, that is the meaning there, that only by this bringing close to the Paramatma a limiting adjunct, the Paramatma appears to be limited by the entity, but really it is not. And when the limiting entity is removed, the Paramatma shines. So that is what the entire Tattvamasi exercise was about. So this way, the message becomes clear. What is it that makes the Paramatma to be Jivatma? because the body is very close, physical body and the Sukshma Sharira is being very close to the Atma, there seems to be a appearance of this physical body and the Sukshma Sharira on the Paramatma of the Atma, and then it is called the Jivatma, that imitation. Now look at this example. We have seen something this a little earlier. So what happens here is when this mind with various kinds of sattva, rajas, and tamas, these dots are all the expression of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Don't think that in our mind there is the red dots, the red material, black material, or cold material like that. It's only to show here. But in reality, they are of different subtleness. The Sattva Guna material is the subtlest. Then the Rajoguna is a little more grosser than the Sattva Guna material. And the Tamoguna material is a little more grosser than the Rajoguna material. So that gradation in the subtlety we cannot show in the picture. So we are trying to show what it means by showing different colors. That's all. So then this is the pure Atma, Paramatma. When this Paramatma, when the mind with Sattva and Tamas is brought very close to it is in the body, the Atma is in the body. So in being such a proximity, this Atma appears like this. What happens is the sattva components of the mind, they reflect this Atma, and with that reflection, you add the rajas and tamas, then it becomes a different color like, and that reflection of Atma is called the Chetana. It is also called, you can call it as the Jivatma. So when in a mind that is kind of showing some colors or some contrasts, when he sees the universe, those pictures of the universe is captured in that mind of different colors, and therefore he sees the Vishayakara Vritti, means he sees the universe, and that is what is called the Vishayakara Vritti, and he sees the universe and he is a samsari. By seeing the universe, he is seeing the duality, and he gets into action, and then he has to enjoy the fruits of it, and he goes through a transmigration cycle. He is called a samsari. Now let's see what a Jivan Mukta looks like. Now in a Jivan Mukta, he has transcended Rajoguna and Tamoguna, and this Atma is reflected in the Sattva-guna. It is completely Sattva-guna at the time of once he has realized the self. There is no Rajoguna and there is no Tamoguna, and the same in here, the same color of Sattva-guna in the mind and the Sattva-guna of the Atma, Shuddha Sattva. Now there is no difference in the Atmakara Vritti. It is like this is reflecting this same color, if you will, and they are in reality a mind of a certain subtlety is reflecting the Atma of the same subtlety. So there is no difference between the object and the image, and therefore he gets the Atmakara Vritti. He gets the Atmakara Vritti. The entire universe appears to him as Atma. I'll give an example. It's difficult to imagine this, but let us say you are taking a picture. You are taking a picture, and I come and throw a 1,000 watt or a 10,000 watt light, searchlight onto your camera lens. Then what does the picture see? You see only the light, or the powerful light that is projected on the glass, on the lens, and therefore the lens fails to see the objects in front of it. So it sees only the light. Like that, when this Sattva-guna is 100%, the reflection is so powerful in that reflection, everything else appears as Atma alone. That is what is called Sarvatma Bhava. Now, don't take it literally. That means he sees a wall and he sees it as Atma and he goes and hits the wall. That's not the idea. The idea is that in the meditation, he has seen that, and when he comes out of the meditation, he is just like you and I. But what he has seen does not go away, and therefore he kind of ignores it. He ignores what he sees if it is not necessary. If he has to, if he hits a wall, if he has to take a detour, he will take a detour. But during the samadhi, he is seeing, experiencing this Atma of Shuddha Sattva, and therefore he is Atma, he gets the Atmakara Vritti or Sarvatma Bhava. He sees same Atma in everywhere. In the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we have that very beautiful verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavyastini Chundi Chaiva Shupakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. That Pandita, that realized person, whatever he sees, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, that a person, a very highly evolved Brahmana, an elephant, a cow, etc., etc., they all to him are looking as only Atma. Verse 518 of the Bhagavad Gita, a very important verse that describes these things. That, let's move on. So the Jivatma, who is none other than the Paramatma, has 3 adjuncts associated with it: the gross body, subtle body, and the causal body. We will discuss the subtle and the causal in the next verse. So being so near to these bodies, the Jivatma appears to have these bodies, or the Jivatma appears to be the gross body, or the subtle body, or the causal body. So there is a confusion for the individual, thinking that being so close, the physical body or the mind, the subtle body being so close to the Atma, there is a confusion with respect to, am I the physical body or am I the Atma? And it is very easy for him to think it is the physical body because he's seeing it, and therefore he thinks it's the body. So everyone experiences pleasure and pain. Now, this pleasure and pain can only be experienced with the support of the gross body and the subtle body. So when the Jivatma is between 2 bodies, it cannot experience pleasure and pain because it doesn't have the physical body or the gross body. So these bodies are the platform for the experience of pain and pleasure. You need both the gross body and you need the subtle body to experience the pleasure or pain. Like a rock. A rock has no subtle body like a human subtle body, and therefore the rock cannot experience any pain or pleasure. Only the bodies of living beings like humans and animals, etc., they can experience the pain and pleasure because they have both a subtle body and a gross body. So we have seen the gross body. Now we'll look into the subtle body. Sukshmam mano buddhi tashendriyai yutam pranaira panchikrita bhuta sambhavam bhoktu sukhaderanusādhanam bhavet shariramanyat viduratmano buddhaha. Sukshmam mano buddhi dashendriyai yutam.
Sukshmam mano buddhi dashendriyai yutam. Sukshmam mano buddhi dashendriyai yutam.
Pranaira panchikrita bhuta sambhavam.
Pranaira panchikruta bhuta sambhavam. Pranaira panchikruta bhuta sambhavam.
Bhoktuhu sukhaderanusādhanam bhavet
भोक्तुः सुखादेरनुसाधनं भवेत् भोक्तुः सुखादेरनुसाधनं भवेत्
शरीरमन्यत् विदुरात्मनो बुधाः
शरीरमन्यत् विदुरात्मनो बुधाः शरीरमन्यत् विदुरात्मनो बुधाः
See, in the Sukshma Sharira, I mean, it's a Stula Sharira, the gross body, he said Panchikrita Bhuta Sambhavam. Here he says Pranaihi Apanchikrita Bhuta Sambhavam. In the case of the subtle body is formed of the Apanchikrita before grossification, or the original subtle elements make up the subtle body. So the subtle body is described by this statement Manobuddhi Dashendriya Yutam. It has 10 indriyas, 5 karmendriyas, 5 jnanendriyas, pranaihi. It has the pancha pranas, 5 pranas, and then apanchikrita bhuta sambhavam, 5 sense organs, 5 5 actions, vital airs, mind and intellect. All these are apanchikrita. They are the original elements of creation. So it is made of 5 ungrossified great elements: Akasha, Vayu, Tejas, Apa, and Prithvi. These are the 5 elements that make up the subtle body. Our mind, our prana, and all these things are made out of this. Is the vehicle of enjoyment of the enjoyer. So you need a vehicle to enjoy the pleasure and pain, and this Sukshma Sharira is the vehicle. Gross body or the Sthula Sharira is the platform. This is the vehicle. When he is associated with the gross body, then the 5 the subtle bodies, the 17 components, they come to act to experience the fruits of pain and pleasure. So this body is also other than self. This is not the Atma. This Sukshma Sharira is different from Atma. Bhoktuhu Sukadehe Anusadhanam Bhave. Even if the experiences happen in the body, it cannot be felt without the association with the subtle body. See, when we have a surgery, this Sukshma Sharira has been put to sleep. When the Sukshma Sharira is put to sleep, they cut our body and do all those things. We will not know it. So the Sukshma Sharira, that is how I said it is the vehicle for experiencing. It's the means between the physical body and whatever is causing pain or pleasure. So that Sukshma Sharira is the vehicle for experiencing the fruits of the pain and pleasure, and it is experienced in the presence of Sthula Sharira. So it cannot be felt without the association with the subtle body. So the scholars call this Sukshma Sharira Shariram Anyat Viduratmano Buddhaha. Buddhaha, the scholars, what they say, this is Shariram Anyat. This is a second body for the Atma. This is not the Atma. This is not the gross body. This is the second body. So the second body for the Atma is the Sukshma Sharira. And the third body of the Atma is Ajnana, that is the ignorance of self, or Maya, that is to be described in the next verse. So now there's a lot of confusion in this, and I have used this in a previous class. So now you please follow my pointer. So all these are 5 sense organs. These 5 sense organs are the external hardware, but these, whatever information these sense organs bring, they are all focusing in what is called a Sukshma Panchendriyas, Jnanendriyas, Sukshma Jnanendriyas. These are like, consider these, there are 5 apps in this entity. There are 5 apps for the 5 sense organs. And when the information comes from the 5 sense organs, this app, it converts it into a form the mind can understand. the mind cannot directly communicate with what is happening at the hardware level. So whatever information is coming, it has to be brought into a format that the mind can understand. See, for example, if you have a Samsung phone and I have an iPhone, when I talk to you, the mechanism in the Samsung phone and in the iPhone are different, but there is an entity within each phone which communicates with each other, and that entity is what reduces the iPhone format and the Samsung phone format into identical format. So anyway, now you take these, this is what is called in the Adidaiva in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asks, what is Adidaiva? Krishna answers that, that these, there is a, in our philosophy, there is a presiding deity for sight, that is the sun. There is a presiding deity for hearing, that is the Ashwini Devatas. There is a presiding deity for taste. There is a presiding deity for touch, that is the Vayu, etc. So these presiding deities is what this is all about, or in our today's world, we call it as an app. Now you draw this from this one, I brought it here. Similarly, 5 pranas are directed by the mind, and the mind has the format of the 5 pranas, receiving information, bringing information, is to be understood by the mind, and this is called the prana sukshma sharira. If you so this I brought here, and then there is the motor organs, the hands, legs, etc., speech, etc., and that is the entity that interprets the karmendriyas with respect to the mind, and that I bring here. So now we have the 5 jnanendriyas, 5 pranas, 5 karmendriyas, and then the manas. The manas is made up of the mind and the intellect and the storage. And then in addition to this, there is what is this 5 sukshma elements, 5 subtle elements. So that makes it 17. Like this is 5, this is 5, this is 5. The antakarna is 1, and the 5 elements is considered as 1. So that's what makes it the 17 components. These 17 components at the time of death, they move away from where their locus is, and they all come to the heart level, heart area, and from the heart area, they take a path to go out, and that is what is that. We discussed this in the last Bhagavad Gita class in the 8th chapter. So this all these sukshma sharira components, they come to the heart area. They are all collected there, and they as a unit leave the body, and that is death. So all you have to do is don't worry about all those things. Just look at these 17 components. Makes the sukshma sharira, or the subtle body. It's also called linga sharira. And so this is the sukshma sharira that we are talking of here. This is all made of subtle elements. Okay, so subtle body is a very important aspect of our human body. Without the subtle body, the physical body is dead. So with each birth, the Jivatma acquires a gross body and drops it at the time of death. So it is the Jivatma that is continuous, not the physical body. Is the Sukshma Sharira that is continuous, but the subtle body does not drop off. Jivatma easily, it is kind of clinging with the Jivatma. How, see, this example is given. You dip your finger in the oil pot, and the oil sticks to the hand and stays there for a long time unless you do something to it. If it is a water, it will dry off pretty soon. But oil just sits there like that. The subtle body sits with the Jivatma. It doesn't come off of the Jivatma. That is, subtle body is more tightly associated with Jivatma than the physical body, because physical body is dropped off every birth and death. It is dropped off and recollected. The subtle body is the continuous one that plants itself in the different bodies. So when the gross body drops off, that is at death, the subtle body made of 17 aspects leaves the body and comes out. And then the Jivatma with the 17 subtle elements, subtle aspects is the one that undergoes rebirth. So this Jivatma of the 17 subtle elements are the Sukshma Sharira of the 17 subtle elements, subtle aspects. It goes through the system, through the environmental system, and it deposits itself in another body. That is called what is called the rebirth. So this subtle body is described by in the verse Mano Buddhi Dashendriyaihi Yutam Pranaihi Apanchi Krita Bhuta Sambhavam. So they are made of the original subtle elements, 5 sense organs, 5 organs of action, 5 vital aids, mind and intellect. So this subtle body is made of 5 ungrossified great elements. So this is the description of the subtle body in our system. Continuing. So this subtle body is made of the ungrossified, whereas the gross body is made of the grossified elements. So the subtle body is with the Jivatma in every life. Same subtle body that is with the Jivatma in every life. And the content of this mind is characterized by the guna, the sattva, rajas, and tamas, whatever gunas are there at the time of death, the same sattva, rajas, tamas in the same proportion is in the next birth also. But the proclivity is not generally acquired in this life. We see that just newborn child either cries or it smiles sometimes. Now, what they say is that the smiling is remembering past, it's having a dream, remembering its past life. Otherwise, a dream for a one-day child is meaningless. What is a dream? It's a recall of the experience of life. If a one-day child, infant, has to dream, then it must have an experience before. Where did it come from? It came from the past life. So when this source is the source of this subtle body is the inherent quality carried over from an earlier life is the only possible answer. That child, that infant which was smiling or twitching its face is it is remembering some bad incidents in the past life, and so it is twitching its face, or it is smiling because it is remembering something. So these 17 aspects constituting the subtle body is always attached to the Atma. Like you are going from the front of the train to the back of the train, you are always attached to the train. You are not falling off of the train. That these 17 aspects of the Sukshma Sharira is always attached to the Atma. Now, without the subtle body, the question of even pain and pleasure is not proposed. The question doesn't arise itself at all. Like I said, a rock does not have a subtle body, and a rock does not experience pain or pleasure. So, bhoktuhu sukhade anusadhanam bhave. Even if the experience of pain and pleasure, it happens in the body, it cannot be felt without the association with the subtle body. Now we know that, like when I'm in deep sleep, if somebody comes and touches me, I may not even recognize the touch. It all depends on how deep my sleep is. So the in the presence of physical or gross body, subtle body is not present in deep sleep, and therefore you cannot experience anything. So this subtle body of 17 components is the organ of feeling pleasure and pain, and Shariramanyat Viduratmano Budaihi. So this is the second body of the Atma. The third body of the Atma, Jnana, is described in the next verse. Now, before that, I want to take this one picture. This is quite a bit involved in there. Now, let's go back to this original picture. We saw creation at the time of creation. The Avyakta is the Mahatattva. From that comes the Mahatattva, the Ahankara, Manas, and the 5 subtle elements. So these are the 5 subtle elements we are talking about: the space, air, free, water, and earth. Now, in the creation process, now this portion is the same. This Atma and this Prakriti are the Maya. Now there is a predominant Sattva. The predominant Sattva is what makes the Ishvara. Ishvara, along with Ishvara, you can take I had earlier said Adhidaivas, and the Adhidaivas may not be as much Sattva as Ishvara, but they have a higher amount of Sattva than the Jivatma, and therefore from this creation, this Maya that has all the 3 gunas, the predominant Sattva, Ishvara, is the outcome of this predominant Sattva. Now we have this mixed Sattva. It has Sattva and Rajas both. The mixed Sattva gives rise to mind using the Sattva component, and it gives rise to prana using the Rajas component. See, Rajas is activity. Prana is activity. So Rajas is contributing towards the prana, and the Sattva is contributing to the mind of you and me. Now, where is this physical body coming from? Now you have these elements. That is the predominant tamas. The predominant tamas of the Maya then uses these 5 subtle elements, puts through the machine mill of Panchikarana, and then out comes the gross elements. And from the gross elements, the physical body comes. So this is the simplest picture you can think of with respect to the creation of every kind of entity in the universe. You have the Ishvara, you have the living beings. This is just a human body is shown, but this is all the bodies, animals, plants, etc. And then the tamas, which is the Panchikrita bhutas, physical body, and then rocks and boulders, etc. They are also part of this predominant tamas. So all the qualities or the proclivities of the Maya are described here, and the Ishvara, the Jivatma, and the inert objects come out of the predominant Sattva, the mixed Sattva, and predominant tamas. Now, here the Karana Sharira is Anadi. It has no beginning. The Karana Sharira, what is Karana Sharira? I can give an example. It is, like whenever ladies go out, they take a bag with them. And in that bag is so many items of utility you have. Now, this Karana Sharira is a bag like that. Imagine it to be a bag like that. Take a portion of your mind, slice a portion of your mind, and think of it as a bag. And in that bag holds the Sanchita karma. All the karma that we have done in various past lives, it is Anadi. That's why it is said from the beginning of, it's actually beginningless. Anadi means. So from the beginningless time, this Karana Sharira is in existence. It goes through every creation of Brahma, and then it continues to the next creation also, and it holds the Sanchita karma, or all the karma palas that we have to experience yet. That is in this Karana Sharira. It's like a pouch. Now the Sukshma Sharira comes and goes through creations. Like what happens at the time of a creation, when there is a volition to create beings, the mixed Sattva component of the Maya is used to create all the beings, animals, plants, etc., etc. And this Sukshma Sharira is the vehicle that connects the previous body with this body, with the current body. So the Sukshma Sharira comes and goes through creations. Every creation, it is brought in to bear with these various entities of the bodies, and at the time of Pralaya, they all recede back into Maya, or the Avyakta, we say. And therefore, the Sukshma Sharira has been coming and going through creations. What does Stula Sharira do? Stula Sharira comes and goes every life. The Sukshma Sharira does not die at the end of life. The Stula Sharira dies at the end of life. And the Sukshma Sharira continues until realization happens. So in every creation, Sukshma Sharira is determined by the contents of the Karma Sharira. So at the beginning of creation, all this Sanchita Karma that is in the Karma Sharira is taken into a picture. So see what is needed in there, what is in there, and what needs to be done, what can be experienced in this creation. So that determination is made. In fact, Swami Paramarthanandaji, he makes a very interesting statement. He says the universe is a joint venture of Paramatma and Jivatma. Because Paramatma has to create and Jivatma provides the raw material, that is the karma. Karma pala that we have to experience is the raw material for Ishvara to create this universe, and therefore he calls it as a joint venture between the Paramatma, Ishvara, and Jiva. So in every creation, Sukshma Sharira is determined by the contents of Karna Sharira. So whatever is in this bag, according to that, a Sukshma Sharira comes out of creation, and the Sukshma Sharira coming out of creation, of this creation, could be different from the Sukshma Sharira coming out of the future creation. But what is it that makes it? It is the what is in the Sanchita Karma. What is in that pouch? And that determines what Sukshma Sharira has to be created to experience the Karma Phala. We said earlier, only Sukshma Phala is capable of providing that conduit for experiencing the fruits of karma, and therefore this Karna Sharira is consulted in determining the Sukshma Sharira. So this, in effect, this entire creation is explained in this picture, and this Karna Sharira, these Sukshma Sharira and the Sthula Sharira, very important. Understanding this, you will understand the creation process very well. Now, the Karna Sharira is described in this verse. Let us read it and stop it. Anadya nirvachamapi karanam maya pradanam tu param sharirakam vadi vedat tu yata pratak sthitam Atmanamanyavadharayet kramat. All right, we'll stop here and we'll come to this in the next class.